Hey guys, so in today's video, I am going to be giving you some tips and tricks and advice on how not to destroy your RC cars when you go out bashing with them and you're out there having fun, jumping things and stuff like that. I've made lots of mistakes over the years. I've seen other people make lots of mistakes, and I want to share the knowledge that I have accumulated through those costly mistakes and pass it on to you, so hopefully you're not having to wait a week for parts for your RC car that you just took out and drove for 5 minutes and made some silly mistake that could have been avoided. The first piece of advice I have is to inspect the RC you're going to be driving that day. Make sure your screws are not backing out. They're all nice and tight. All your hex screws and everything that you can see. You don't have to spend a lot of time. Just eye it over, make sure it all looks good. And one example I have, one mistake I made, is I was not inspecting these very well, and these screws right here on the A-arms were backing out, and they go all the way through right here. One of these had backed out, and so this side was not connected anymore and was kind of flopping around, and I didn't realize it, and it actually broke the A-arm to my Stampede. And it's the only piece that I've broken on the Stampede at all, was that one little A-arm. So be sure you look at your screws and your shocks and everything else and make sure none of those are loose. That way when you get out there driving, no parts are flying off of it. Also, make sure your wheels are nice and tight. I actually go through there before every time I run, and I tighten those up to make sure the wheels are nice and tight. It's not only a good idea to inspect your RC before you drive it, it's also a really good idea to inspect it after you drive it as well. Look for any parts that need to be replaced, anything that is bent, broken, or anything like that, because you don't want to have your RC sit there a week, go out to try to drive it, then find that you've got a broken part somewhere and you have to, sit on the sidelines when all your friends are having fun. You want to go ahead and order that part so it can be shipped to your house, or go to your hobby shop, get it, whatever you need to do. You need to get that RC repaired before you go out to have fun with it and find out that you can't really drive it. And as far as like the parts and stuff being loose, or like the screws and things like that, if they come out, if you are about to hit a jump and something like one of the shock screws comes loose, and then you hit that jump and then it's got to land with no shock at all, that shock's got to go somewhere. If you got push rods like the E-Revo, those push rods will go somewhere. And I know for a fact, if that push rod on the E-Revo comes out of the the rod end, or if that screw comes loose on the rocker, that push rod will go right back up into the shocks and break your shocks. I know, because it happened to me. So be sure to inspect everything, make sure everything's in good working condition before and after you drive your RC car. Also, inspect your tires. Make sure they are glued to the wheels, they're not coming apart. If they start coming loose, they will come loose like this and tear apart just like that, and you don't want that to happen. You don't want to get out there driving your RC car just to tear up a set of tires like this. You can glue them back together on the wheels, and it'll help prevent them from coming loose and tearing apart. These are really expensive. Some tires are like $30 a piece just for one tire, so they can be very expensive to replace them, some models, and you don't want to go tearing things apart, especially when you can avoid it simply by looking and make sure that everything is glued together. You also need to know what is in the area that you're going to be driving in. Like around my yard right here, I got these roots right here, and for most RCs they can go over them pretty easily. Like the tires and stuff go over just fine. However, if I hit this root right here just right, oh, did you see that? If I came by that very quickly, this root right here will catch the bottom of my E-Revo right there, and it hits it really hard. So you want to avoid stuff like that. So if you have roots or something in the yard, be aware of it. If you're in a place that you don't drive normally or you're not familiar with, go out, walk around, inspect everything. You don't have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, but you'll find things. Like over here, I've got a hole in my yard. This is where a tree used to sit at, and so if I bring the E-Revo over here, if I hit this here just right, it'll cause the rear end to pop up, and I'll lose control of the E-Revo. And so if I'm heading this way, I can hit whatever I have over there. I could damage it, run into a wall or something like that. So you want to be aware of any holes or any other kind of obstacles that would damage your RC car. So this next tip is kind of a no-brainer, but it's crazy at how often I see people do this. Is you need to hit your ramps straight. I see people all the time, they come at ramps at some weird angle, they'll try to jump it coming off like that, and you really don't want to do that. You need to have your RC land straight and come off the ramp straight. Now, if you're good enough with the RC car, you can actually hit the ramp at an angle and land it. But you see how it bounced sideways? It's because it didn't land very evenly. That's really bad for your RC car. And also, I'm gonna try to do this and get it, replay it in slow motion so you can see. But you watch when the car goes up, it's going to be at an angle like this. So, oh, you see that? That's exactly how you tear up an RC car. It makes it very difficult to land straight if you don't hit the ramp straight. When you take off from a jump or just any obstacle at all, you want to be able to land on all 4 wheels, or at least 2 wheels that are on the opposite sides of the car. So that is okay. That's okay. You don't want to land like this. This is bad. Whenever you are jumping, if you're too high up like this and your RC car starts drifting like this because you hit the ramp wrong and you land like this, that's very bad. I have seen plenty of people split the rear end of their RC cars because they landed like this. Your suspension doesn't travel in that direction, it travels in that direction. Also, when you land like this, that's really hard on the pivot balls, really hard on the tires. You can really break stuff because your RC car is not designed to land like that. So you really need to land it straight, and in order to set you up for a nice clean landing, you need to hit the ramp straight to begin with. When you do land from a jump, there's a few angles that you can come at. Like that's fine, and pretty much all that angle right there, that whole rotation, anywhere in that area, you're going to be okay. When you start landing like this, you're going to get into a lot of trouble. The RC isn't designed to land like this, and so you will just run your chassis into the ground, the front end, and that's very hard on it. Some RCs, you can actually land on the nose like this and it'll be fine. A lot of the Traxxas RCs have cages inside the bodies, and they will actually land like this and be perfectly fine. I'll show you that in a minute. And so you can actually land on the roof of a lot of RC cars and they'll be okay. And that is preferable to landing like this, or even like this on the rear. If you land like that on the rear, it can be really bad on the RC. And really, if you cannot land on the wheels and you have to like bail on a jump, laying on the roof isn't the worst idea. The X-Max, for example, lots of times where I see people drive them, they will jump and they'll start nosing over, and they're trying to bring the nose up. They're trying to bring the nose up because they don't want it to land like this, right? Well, they never stop and think that you can actually take the X-Max and land it like this, and it will be okay. I've done it plenty of times. You have to bail on a jump that you wasn't able to set yourself up properly. You can actually land some RCs on the roof, like the X-Max and the Revo. Here we have the Traxxas Revo, and you see how there's no real shock towers or anything. All you have is pretty much the body mount that the body mounts to right there. You have this cage inside there, and that cage really helps protect all the internals of the RC. So if you land on the nose or land on the roof, it's not all that bad. But as you see on the Armor Notorious, and a lot of RCs are like this one. You see how it doesn't have any cage or anything in the nose of it at all? And it's got the body mounts that stick up, and the shock towers, and this piece of aluminum right there. Now, I don't know how strong, how durable all this is, but as you can see, this right here, it doesn't look as tough, or as tough isn't the right word. It doesn't look like you can take a very good impact on the front of the nose of this thing like you could the Revo. So while I don't really suggest laying on the nose of an RC that's got body posts and stuff like this, things like the Revo, it's not going to be so bad. And even the Haas, here we go with the Haas, you can see the shock towers are right there, and then you have all that bit of the cage and stuff above all that. So if you do land this RC on the nose, it's going to be landing on all of that instead of the shock towers. Now, while most of my driving, well, pretty much all my driving is going to be on the Revo, these tricks and techniques will work on other RCs as well. So you need to look over your model to see if it's capable of doing the kind of things that the Revo would do, and then you will know. But I'm trying to keep the Revo in the realm of other RCs too. Like if you are going to nose into the ground, you can actually save the Revo from nosing into the ground pretty easily. But other RCs like the X-Max, you're not capable of doing it. But I'm just going to show you the kind of stuff that I do to save like jumps like that on the Revo, just because I got so much control on it. I have it's not that heavy of an RC compared to like the X-Max. I don't have to worry about breaking anything if I go sideways or whatever. So because I'm so good with the Revo, I'm going to, and I have spare parts also if I break anything. But I'm going to show everything on the Revo, but you can do this kind of stuff on your other RCs as well. All right, so all the controls that I'm doing in the air is just giving it throttle and giving it brake. So whenever I want to bring the nose up like that, just a little bit, I just give a little bit of throttle and the nose will come up. So if you're nosing it over, you see I gave it a little bit of throttle just before it landed. And a little bit of brake will bring the nose down. So you saw I braked real hard and then I gave it throttle so I could level it out and then bring the nose up so it didn't hit so hard. Before I forget, it's very important whenever you land, let go of your throttle, let go of your brake. Don't land under power, don't land under brake. What happens is whenever the RC car is in the air, the wheels change. Okay, your wheel speed is not matching your RC speed anymore. So if you're in the air and your wheels speed up, when you hit the ground, the wheels are going to stop real suddenly, but your motor and your drivetrain is going to be going at the speed you were moving in the air. And so what happens is there's this really jarring jolt to your drivetrain, and you can break gears and things like that. I've broken several spur gears just like that. The same thing happens when you are braking. If you're in the air and you hit your brakes real hard, when you land, the momentum of the RC landing on the ground is going to want to turn the wheels, but your motor and your drivetrain is locked up from you holding the brakes, and you can strip out gears, brake, axles, and things like that. That is exactly how I break the axles on my Traxxas Haas. If you see my Traxxas Haas videos, you know that I have broken both the front axles because I do ollies, and when it lands, I'm holding the brake because I can't let go of it in time, and then when the front end comes down, those wheels are not moving, and the jarring of it hitting the ground and trying to rotate those wheels twists the axles and breaks well, yeah, it actually does break the axles right off of the drive shaft. So let go of the trigger right before you land, so you're not landing under power, you're not landing under brake. Very important. Also, don't hit ramps like this. That is very, very bad. If you do that, you're going to go into a cartwheel and your car is going to start cartwheeling and you're going to tear it up. There's a way to save it. I can save it from a cartwheel, and usually I don't break anything. It's a very advanced maneuver. All you got to do is know when to pull the trigger when it's doing a cartwheel. It takes practice. It's very difficult to do. If you saw my notorious video, my last video, you know that I've done that. So but anyways, let's try to save it from a failed jump. So we're going to jump it and try to nose it over and try to land it on the nose of it. So just like that. I just went back and watched the slow motion on that. That was so perfect. That was so good. That is exactly what I wanted to do. So you saw I landed right there on the nose of it. And of course, all this is going to be okay. And the body cage did its job. And so if you have to bail on a jump like that, it is okay to land on the front end of the RC car. And like I said, the X-Max and stuff like that, the Traxxas Max, a lot of the Traxxas RCs have the body cages so you can actually land them on the nose like that. And I don't know how durable other brands are, so if you have an Armor or something like that, I don't know that you can land on the nose like that. And I know for a fact some of them, like the Typhon or any of the buggies, because you know the buggies, they have the shock towers that really stick up. You shouldn't have those upside down like that anyways. And I don't think that you have the kind of control when they're in the air like you do with any Revo, but you shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff with those kind of RCs anyways. I think landing on the shock towers of those might be devastating. I'm not sure. I don't have one of those, but it just looks like, you know, because the shock towers they're above everything, so you might damage those. So if your RC car has something like that, you want to avoid landing on that at all costs. But something like the Revo or the Haas or the Max or the X-Max, a lot of Traxxas RCs, you can land them on the nose like that and they'll be okay. You also want to avoid RC cars hitting tire first on something like that. So come in like if you're like driving down the side like a wall or something like that, you see how much that wheel is actually gripping against that? You see how it's turning? Like, I'm not doing that with my hand. Just hitting something like this will grab those wheels and will twist them and turn them. They'll break servo sabers, they'll break A-arms. You can do a lot of damage to an RC car by driving up next to something. So you want to avoid that. And if you're running at something, here we go, come over to a tree. So if you're driving up to a tree and you hit something like that, you can do a lot of damage that way. Now, if you hit it head on like that, you can break stuff, but hitting it like that is preferable than to hitting it like that, because that will definitely break A-arms and stuff like that. That's how I broke the A-arms on my V1 Revo, is by hitting a tree like that. So try not to hit stuff with your tires, even walls that look like they'll be, you know, nice and smooth for the tires to run down. This isn't NASCAR. That's not how this works. You'll tear your tires right off the side of your RC. So as you see, you can't actually land on the body of some of these RCs, and it's much preferable than landing on the nose straight out, because I know I have seen people land directly on the nose of RCs, and you'll break the Revo right here. If you land on the tail, you can break it right through here. And even though the wing mount acts like a shock absorber kind of, and it will absorb some impact, I have seen plenty of people break their Revos right here. And the same thing with RCs like this, the Notorious. If you land it directly on the nose, you can actually bend the chassis right there. If you land it directly on the wing, which I did, I still haven't fixed it yet, you can break the wing mount. So, you know, you really want to avoid laying directly on the rear and directly on the front of these RCs. Even landing on the body of an RC like this is preferable to landing right there on the nose like that, I think. Hopefully, maybe. I know it definitely is on RCs like the Revo. All right, probably my last piece of advice. Do not balloon your tires out. I know it's fun to watch these tires balloon like that. Watch how they get bigger. You don't want to do that. That creates a lot of stress on the tire, and your tire will just fly to pieces. If you are driving it and there's no resistance on the tires, you can blow your tires apart. Like if you're doing a wheelie across the yard like that, you see how the front end comes up and the tires start ballooning up, you can blow your tires apart. I see people do that kind of stuff all the time and blow their tires apart, and you don't really want to do that. Also, don't use self-riding feature on Traxxas RCs. I know they come with a self-riding feature. Don't do it. You're going to tear your RC up. I don't know why they advertise it or why they put it in there. It's a cool little gimmick. It really is. And sometimes it works on some of the RCs, but generally people complain about the drivetrain blowing up. So save your drivetrain. Don't use your self-riding feature. Don't get carried away doing donuts either and blow your tires apart. People will... Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to do donuts. Let's try it again. Get so the sun's over here. Yeah, people start doing donuts. I got a stick in there somewhere. Yeah, people start doing donuts like this, and you watch the tires start ballooning up. Oh. I got somebody drove through my yard and put ruts in it. And the Revo flipped over the rut. But yeah, so if you're doing donuts, stuff like that, be aware of what your tires are doing. Like that, because you will blow your tires apart if you do stuff like that. All right, so I got one more thing to say, and I don't know how I'm going to edit it into this video, because I'm recording this after I record everything else, so I don't know how I'm going to fit it in there and make it smooth or fit or whatever. But you know what? I don't even care. I gotta say it, and I'll stick it in somewhere. People have a hard time of evaluating themselves and criticizing themselves, and that's something you have to be able to do. You have to be able to look at yourself and say, this is what I did wrong. If you're having trouble lining up jumps, you're lining up RCs, you need to be able to look at yourself and look at what you're doing wrong and know you're doing it wrong. Ask your friends, hey man, if you see me hitting the ramp crooked, let me know. If you see me hitting it sideways, let me know. If you see me giving it too much throttle or too much brake while it's in the air, let me know. Don't be afraid to ask people to criticize your driving to help you get better, because people will do it for you. Believe me, ask someone to criticize you, they'll be more than happy to. But you know, that's how we get better, by knowing what we're doing wrong. So if you need help, don't be afraid to ask people. If you're breaking your RC all the time, says, hey, look man, look at my driving, see what I'm doing wrong. And just being able to evaluate what you're doing and look at yourself and correct your mistakes is very, very important. Now, I see people do it all the time in things that are not even RC related, in other real life things. Like I play tons of video games when I can, and I will play a game with other people, and I'll see a person, I'm like, man, every time you go in this area, you lose. Stop going in the area. You lose every time you go in the area. Stop doing it. And then they will stop going in the area, and they stop losing. They start doing other things. And then, you know, 5-10 minutes later, start going back to the area, start losing again, you know? And I'm like, dude, I told you what happened. You go in the area, you lost. Don't do it. And people, they just have a hard time, you know, getting into those habits and getting it through their heads. And I know it can be rough. I know it can be tough. But I mean, just keep practicing at it, keep self-evaluating, and just, you know, try to be a better driver. I have faith in you. I know you can do it. All right, guys, well, those are my tips and tricks on how not to destroy your RC car when you're out there bashing. This video is probably more useful to people, well, I shouldn't say that. I almost says probably more useful to people that are new to the hobby, but I've seen some people who've been driving for a long time that could really use some of this advice. And I think the thing I see people do most often is they do not hit their ramps straight. Like they go, you know, RC car to ramp, or they really need to go RC car, line it up to ramp. They skip a step in there completely, and they hit their jump or whatever they're going for at the wrong angle. They landed on one tire, they split the rear end open in some way, or break an A-arm or something like that, break a tire off, and they complain about the RC or the brand or something like that. These Traxxas RCs are all plastic. Let's say stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, they just hit the ramp wrong all the time. I see that kind of stuff all the time. People just, I don't know if they don't think, they just want to go out there and just have some mindless fun and what have you. You can do that, but you're going to spend time in the shop taking your RC car apart and fixing the repairing the damage that you did when you were just having your mindless fun. And that's not the kind of fun that I like to have. I don't like to sit there and repair my RC cars, and I'm sure many of you do not want to do that also. So, you know, hopefully these tips will help you not destroy your RC car, so you can spend more time driving and less time repairing, and you won't be spending money on a bunch of ridiculous repairs. Because man, these tires are so expensive. Tires on these RC cars, I think what it's like, my Revo is like $45 for 2 tires or something like that. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So don't go out destroying your tires and stuff like that. Don't go out breaking parts, and just there's no reason for it, really. There isn't. But yeah, I guess that's all I got for you today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. Come back and see what I got in store for you. Like the video, share it. Share this video with people that you think might need some advice on how not to destroy their cars. I think there's a few YouTubers that could use some of this advice. Now they're blowing up RC cars because they get views and stuff like that. I don't care about doing any of that. But anyways, thank you so much, guys. I hope you guys had fantastic holidays. I hope you got the RC of your dreams for Christmas, and I will see you guys later.